Hello, everyone. Coming up here on the Pro Wrestling Show, we talk about TNA. TNA Bound for Glory was tonight. TNA Bound for Glory had its highs with the Hall of Fame. And you see right here, we show you right here, beautiful people finally getting their just due. They're going into the TNA Hall of Fame as well as Mickey James. So it's a women field Hall of Famers. Mickey James going to the Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on in the show. Also, too, talk about this show the Dudley boys and the Hardy boys one last time, giving the fans what they want, and they did tonight. Real honoring for tonight was Mike Santana finally wins the TNA Championship. We'll talk about it as we get the Pro Wrestling Show started. Our special Bound for Glory review. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Pro Wrestling Show. I'm your host, as always, Kid Dix here. Join in the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling here on the Connect TV. Don't forget to subscribe here on Pro Wrestling. If you use by joining the conversation by using the hashtag Pro Wrestling and hitting that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing. All right, let's get things started right here, right now with Bound for Glory. As we get stuff started right here, right now, we'll talk about the TNA Hall of Fame coming up with Mickey James in momentary short notice. But hey, we'll talk about it. Well, we get to this right here. The Inspiration finally defeated the Ash by Elegance brand. The Inspiration became the new TNA Knockouts champion. Let's show you how they did it. The Inspiration taking down the um, Ash by Elegance brand. I think this was more like the pre-show match. We was hearing rumors and reports about the Inspiration didn't sign contracts and stuff. We thought right here the Elegance brands got pinned and stuff throughout the whole entire match. And we see right here the Inspiration, better known as the Iconics, retain the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions. I believe they're still in contract, so maybe they're trying to get that renegotiation going. But the Inspiration are still women's Knockout Tag Team Champions. Well, we get to this right here. The Call Your Shot. Well, we get this right here. The International Championship was up for grabs as Frank Kazarian defended his championship against Steve Macklin. Steve Macklin and Frank Kazarian both are heated rivals. As you see right here, Macklin trying Kazarian Kaz trying to get the upper advantage and stuff throughout. Kaz lost his way as Frank Kazarian picked Kaz to Steve Macklin picked Kaz to become the new international champion. We thought we saw the last of Kaz. That just wasn't the case right here. Kaz will play a early part a little bit later on in the show. As Kaz didn't win. You see Steve Macklin holding the gold, and Steve Macklin now the winner. So we see with that situation as well. Well, we get this right here, Hardcore War. As you see right here, Hardcore War. Tasha still getting stumped with nails or something like that by somebody throughout, but it just wasn't enough. As you see right there, we'll get that for a minute. But the system or whatever they call themselves, one Hardcore War. As you see right here, defeat Mustafa Ali and his crew, a Hardcore War. So Fandango, Moose, Alicia Edwards, Eddie Edwards, and Brian, forgot his name, Brian Myers, one Hardcore War, better known as the System. Can we look at that one more time? Someone put down Brian Myers. Who did that? Who set up Alicia like that? Yeah, that was a lot right there. But hey, they won Hardcore War. So we see that. Also, too, Kalani Jordan took on Indy Hartwell for the the TNA Knockouts Championship. We can show you right quick. Indy Hartwell bending Kalani Jordan with a stretch right here. Stretching Kalani. Kalani Jordan from NXT. I guess they're trying to show what Kalani can do. Indy Hartwell did. Kalani Jordan used a half Boston crab as a submission. Kalani Jordan knows a thing or two. That's why I believe NXT more of the better show than all Raw, SmackDown, and all those type of shows because they're building people from the ground. Then Shawn Michaels takes his time. He wants everybody to shine. So Kehlani Jordan defeated Indy Hartwell in a hard fought matchup. Kehlani Jordan took Indy Hartwell to the limit. I think they're setting up and building up Kehlani Jordan to meet this woman right here. Tessa Blanchard was in action as well. Tessa Blanchard looked as strong as well. Tessa Blanchard defeated interviewer Gina Miller. Gina Miller felt a little bit disrespected and had enough and wanted to take on Tessa. Tessa Blanchard got some new you know what? She got some new play things. You know what I mean? Tessa Blanchard did so tonight by doing Gina Miller right there, and Gina Miller was trying her best to fight Tessa Blanchard Black. It just wasn't enough. Even it looked like it was more like a test run for Tessa Blanchard doing that to Gina Miller and pinning Gina Miller, get the 1, 2, 3, and Gina Miller um, really took it to hit as a chin tonight. She did. Well, we get to this right here. The Call Your Shot Battle Royal was still a lot of controversy. As you can see right here, these are the winners right here. Um, Cass and Dolph Ziggler. I mean, they can fight. They kind of even match in a way, but Dolph Ziggler and Cass nearly came in the same street or same area back in the day, nearly 20 years ago. As you see right here, Cass, Dolph Ziggler brother trying to help out and get over. And it just wasn't enough. You see right here, Cass, Dolph Ziggler. We can show you right here. This was the final moments of the match. Cass and Dolph Ziggler both eliminate each other, causing like a Royal Rumble 2005 where Triple H, where John Cena and Batista had an issue when both men got eliminated. Well, they were both named co-winners. We haven't heard that in nearly 30 years with Bret Hart and Lex Luger both won the Royal Rumble as well. But as you see right here, Dolph Ziggler's gonna be having more trouble right here. Dolph Ziggler got hit in the head by Elias. Elias hit Dolph Ziggler in the head, taking him down. I think Dolph Ziggler gonna be starting a feud, or Nick Newman be starting a feud with Elias coming forward. Also, too, BDE was also part of that battle royal. It was really like a little niche battle royal, just wasn't enough. But hey, it was what it was at the end. Well, we get to this right here. Hardcore War. We can show you Hardcore War. Hardcore War was reminiscent of the 2000 Royal Rumble. Remember the Hardy Boys versus the Dudleys back in the day for the tables match. It mainly was a TLC match. You see, 25 years later, these two teams were rivals with Edge and Christian. Gave their all tonight throughout the whole time. At Devon getting taken down. Devon kind of like, I'm getting old for this and stuff. But he took it like a champ. He took that bump. But Devon said it's gonna be the last match, as well as Bubba Ray Dudley did the same thing. He took a table dive as well. Bubba Ray took the table dive from Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy setting up Bubba Ray. You can see Bubba Ray like clutching to his what. But like I said, both teams trying to do what they could do. They give the fans their all, do the agreement, and looking at Bubba Ray. Um, Bubba Ray, the Hardy Boys lost. No, the Hardy Boys won. Hardy Boys won, putting Bubba Ray through the table, and Bubba Ray was done and over with and finished the Hardy Boys in the rivalry for almost 25 years. Congratulations to the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys as well. After the match, the Hardy Boys and Dudley Boys embraced each other for all they did for nearly 25 years of sacrifice, work, dedication, service, and they did so. And tonight was both all these teams' moment, these legendary tag teams, the Hardy Boys and Dudley Boys from the WWE, the early days in the Attitude Era. We can forget those table matches with Edge and Christian, um, TLC, and the memories still will live on throughout WWE and stuff. Well, Bubba Ray and Devon both decide they're going. It's time for them to retire. They both took their booths out, signaling that this is the end for them. They're done. They're not going to be wrestling no more. This is it. The Dudley Boys have finally had an inner era as well as Bubba Ray Dudley saying he's done. The Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys. What a moment that was tonight by both teams, both legendary teams, and they did so tonight. Like we said, the Hardy Boys and Dudley Boys embracing each other, embracing the fact that it's the end of an era, and what an era it was, and what an era we lived to witness it and stuff. So congratulations to the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys on their service to professional wrestling. Well, we get to this right here. A match of the ages. Next generation. The X Division Championship was online. Lennon Spick took on Javon Evans from NXT in a new, unique match. Both are evenly matched. Both were outside the ring, and you can tell right here they both took it to the next level right here, and they both fell down and stuff. What an ending to the match. The ending did not have a happy ending. As NXT's Dark State jumped both men and laid both men down. We don't know why Dark State did what they did. It ended in a no contest. Dark State doing that and really setting themselves up for something with these two young aerial win snappers, the aerial assassins one day. Devon Evans and Leon Slater. So we'll see what's going to go down for them next. But they're going to be interviewed and teaming up together and joining forces to take down Darkstay. I can tell you that right now. Well, we get to the main event. The main event. We get to the main event right quick before we leave out. Mike Santana defeated Trick Williams. Mike Santana is the new TNA champion. He embraced his daughter. He said he was doing it for himself and his daughter and the fans of TNA. Max Santana has finally brought the TNA championship back home to TNA where it belongs. He showing and giving it to his daughter. I get that, but his daughter don't know what's going on. She's like, Daddy, I don't know what to do with this. But it was a cherished moment. And they did so. Mike Santana finally had done it. And Mike Santana is now the new TNA heavyweight champion. Congratulations to Mike Santana on this big victory defeating Trick Williams. Trick Williams now might be trying to focus on other things, probably NXT, and probably being a sore loser. So we saw how that's going to go. But the moments of the match was this: Mike Santana winning the TNA championship and winning it back for TNA, as well as the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys embracing the final chapter in their feud and moving forward and stuff. And congratulations to both teams on retiring and stuff. They really paved the way for tag team wrestling. Nearly back in the late '90s and the early 2000s, they put wrestling on the map. The Attitude Era with those tables, ladders, and chairs, and also Spike Dudley also made an appearance as well. So we saw that, as well as Kalani Jordan finally retains her NXT, her TNA Women's Championship over Indy Hartwell. And Kalani's might be looking at her next challenger. Tessa Blanchard defeated interviewer Gina Miller, as well as Steve Macklin wins the international championship as well. So it was a lot going on. Plus, also too, Chris Bay made a special appearance. Chris Bay made a special appearance to give out the tally of the attendance and stuff in Boston. It said TNA did a record of 7,794 people were in attendance. So bigs up to TNA on that. They're trying to grow their brand and stuff, and can't help that, but they're growing their brand. Also, too, talk about this: the beautiful people being inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. The legendary tag team of Velvet Sky and Angelina Love both were knockout tag team champions. They were somewhat the forefront when the knockout division started. They both thanked everybody, including Vince Russo, Jeff Jarrett, Dutch Mantel, a whole list of everybody that really really had a helping hand in building the knockouts division, beginning with Gail Kim, Awesome Kong, and then they was a part of it too, and they helped with that and stuff. So the beautiful people came out there to receive their award. It was like all women's night. The beautiful people were for the female legendary tag team. They were a legendary tag team, and on their individual own Sky with knockouts championships is not on one knockout championship as well as Angelina with multiple knockouts championships. But Tommy Dreamer did the induction to induct the beautiful people, which there was a formally fitting tribute to the beautiful people as they did get their just due into the Hall of Fame. Another person who had their just due in the Hall of Fame was none other than hardcore country, multi-time women's champion Mickey James. She got inducted by Victoria. Victoria inducted Mickey James, one of her greatest rivals. Victoria was out there, and Victoria said she was nervous, and she said she's not nervous when she's in the ring, but she's nervous when she's speaking. Victoria did a fine job, inducted Mickey James into the Hall of Fame, and Mickey James so richly deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. Mickey James taking her step foot into the TNA Knockout Hall of Fame. I don't get why Mickey James not in the WWE Hall of Fame. Just something ain't right. I don't. I'm not knocking Stephanie McMahon, but Mickey James should get a Hall of Fame induction before Stephanie McMahon. Don't get me wrong. I like Stephanie McMahon, but I think Mickey James um, was more active in the ring than Stephanie McMahon. But Mickey James getting this well just due honor. Maybe next year, 2027, Mickey James and Victoria should both go in the Hall of Fame, respectively, for 2027 and 2028, just to get them out the way because they paved the way too nearly 20 years ago when they were wrestling and stuff. And 20 years later, um, Mickey James, we don't know if she's done or not, but we got an indication and stuff like that. But hey, it is what it is. All right. We're going to leave you here on this Pro Wrestling Show special with Mike Santana holding, embracing his daughter after winning the TNA championship from Trick Williams. Don't forget, we're going to have a special Pro Wrestling Show Raw Ring Report in the afternoon. We're going to have it at least 2 o'clock. If we can, or before 2 o'clock. We'll try to see when the timetable and stuff. But Raw's coming on that morning, so we're going to be keeping a close eye on that. So, for me being Kendra Dix, saying so long, thanks for watching the Pro Wrestling Show. We'll see you in the afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, for the Raw Ring Report here on the Pro Wrestling Show.